And welcome everyone to our weekly chat here on a Monday afternoon. I'm Andy Katz from NCAA.com and March Madness. Got the AP poll on one side, the Power 36 on the other side. Some differences, certainly on the back part, as always. The top 16 reveal, we talked about that Saturday afternoon when I was at Michigan. Interesting what happened later in the afternoon where Marquette knocked off Villanova. There was some discussion about whether or not Villanova should be in there. They didn't have the non-conference record, so that was justified, and then Marquette ends up beating them. Duke versus Virginia. Virginia has now lost 2 games, both to Duke. Duke certainly deserves that number 1 overall ranking. Wisconsin lost that afternoon at Michigan, but I think they're still right there as a potential 4 seed. Louisville, once again, they're going to be in that 4, 5, 6 range, I think, going forward. Are there teams that could jump up into there? Certainly. Kansas State could end up being there. Villanova, if they were to beat Marquette and win the Big East regular season and the tournament, they can get in there. Gonzaga, solidly a 1. They're number 1 in the Monday net rankings. They're not going anywhere on that 1 line. Get used to it. They can win the national championship. So on the Power 36, I've got Tennessee 1. So does the AP poll. Duke, Gonzaga. I actually moved Kentucky ahead of Virginia because Virginia lost at home. No more excuses. Everyone was full strength. And they lost at home to obviously a great Duke team. But Kentucky's playing great right now. So I have Kentucky in the 4 spot. The Wildcats, by the way, have a monster week coming up where they play LSU and Tennessee at home. We're going to know a lot more about both these schools by week 10. Then Michigan, I moved back up from 11 to 7. Nevada crushed New Mexico, avenging their only loss. So a little 1 line difference with the AP poll there. I'm really high on Purdue and Houston and North Carolina. Just a little bit of a different order than AP. Purdue still at number 12, behind Marquette, Michigan State. Michigan State had lost 3 in a row. They didn't destroy Minnesota. After that, I wouldn't penalize Villanova too much. Here's what's interesting. I'm going to say this again. The rankings are different than the polls. The rankings are different than the seeds. You can't have K-State behind Kansas in the rankings. You certainly can in the seeds. I don't understand how AP poll has Kansas ahead of Kansas State. Kansas State beat them. Kansas State's in first place, alone in first place in the Big 12. Overall resume, no. Kansas has a better overall resume. But ranking, K-State should be higher. Back part of that, Iowa State, Maryland, Buffalo, Virginia Tech. They didn't have Washington last week. They split their road trip to Arizona. I still have Washington in mind. Still, they're getting no love. Cincinnati loses to Houston. I still kept them on the backside. Virginia Tech, without Justin Robinson, they're not the same team. So I would not rank them in the top 25. I have them in the Power 36. Some new names in the Power 36 on the backside. Clemson playing really well right now. I have increased my spots for Lipscomb. Texas TCU back in. Wofford off to a great start right now. They're in. A lot of love going around for some of these other teams that I think deserve it. They're on some great runs right now in terms of heading into closer to the conference tournaments. All right, so let's take some questions. So, Andrew, you're back. So much for thinking that Washington's the scariest team out to the top 16. All right, let's look at that. Okay, the Huskies got a split in Arizona. Arizona State remembers the team that beat Kansas. So, it's not crazy to say that Washington still could be that team outside the 16. John Allen wants to know, how can I justify Tennessee ahead of Duke? Well, Tennessee is still playing better than Duke by a hair. If you remember, Duke lost to Syracuse. I know that was a couple weeks ago, and they weren't at full strength. But I had Tennessee 1. I know some people have flipped it based on this past weekend. I just don't see the justification yet of flipping them. Tennessee hasn't lost since Kansas in November in New York. So, Let's see. Linda says, does Central Florida, UCF, stand a prayer of getting in? Of course they do. I've got them sort of, I think, in the first four at this juncture. So they have a legitimate shot to get in, no question about it. And if they get in because of their size and their experience, they have a chance to be a team that could win a game or two. Can Gonzaga win it all, asks Teddy. Yes, they can. 2 seasons ago, they were in the national championship game. Marty Scott, is Kentucky #1 seed? Well, after this week, they may be. If they were to sweep LSU and Tennessee, that certainly could put them in. Anthony wants to know what's Michigan missing. Not a lot. Iggy Brasdeikis sometimes can disappear, but when he's on, he's phenomenal for them. John Teskey's got to be one of the most improved players in the country, not just the Big Ten. Did a great job on Hap late in that game. Let's see. North Carolina game prediction for tonight, Scotty says. Boy, it's weird. Virginia almost rarely loses 2 in a row under Tony Bennett. So I'm going to lean Virginia. I don't think they'll let Carolina get up and down as much. Alabama, Peyton says. Alabama, Peyton says. Alabama, Peyton says. Yeah, right now I've got them as a team that's going to be in the tournament, so not in the Power 36. I thought about them, though. Which of the top 25 is most vulnerable to lose first? I think you mean that in the tournament, the NCAA tournament. Oh, who do not trust? Well, Virginia Tech, if Justin Robinson's not playing, maybe I'd say my second choice in that group that I wouldn't trust. It might end up being Florida State because they're all over the map. Hunter says Radford is the best Cinderella out there. If they get in, they certainly could be. Chris Cordova says, what about New Mexico State? I've got them as a team that could cause a lot of problems in the tournament and certainly winning the WAC. Julian, how serious should I be about Nevada and Houston making deep runs? Very. They both could get to the Final Four in the right situation. Who do I like between Tennessee and Kentucky? Ask Edward. I'm going to lean Tennessee even though it's at Rupp. Who do I see winning Conference USA? Asked Jared. I've got Old Dominion. Alex says Andy Katz for president. Well, all I will say is I will be in Iowa a week from Friday. So I will be in Iowa City. I'm just going to leave it like that. Less than a year from the caucuses, I will be in Iowa. Just leave it like that. Let's see, what else we got here? Austin wants to know who's winning the ACC. I think Duke's going to win it for the first time since 2010. Crazy. Michael, number of A-10 teams getting in. The Davidson loss doesn't help their cause. They lost to UMass. I was going to push 2, but right now I'm maybe leaning 1. It's going to be an interesting debate or chase between the Pac-12 and the A-10. Which one gets 2? BA, what do I think of Purdue? Well, Matt Painter's doing maybe his best job as a head coach. Phenomenal job. Nick says, I still feel like Ohio State's going to miss the tournament. I don't. Paul, how ridiculous is Jordan Bohannon? Crazy good right now. Making big shots, embraces the moment. That's phenomenal. Let's see, take a couple more. Thoughts on the Big East? 2 bids for sure. Now, here's what's going to happen. Seton Hall could get in and leapfrog teams. They may finish lower in the standings, but then get in because of their wins over Kentucky on a neutral and at Maryland. St. John's should get in, but boy, they just keep 2 steps back. What's the possibility of Houston being a 1 seed? Asked Brian. Probably slim based on what they have remaining and the teams ahead of them. Can Iowa State win the Big 12? Sure they can, but I'm going to lean K-State right now. Thoughts on the Big 12, asks Drake. So you've got Kate. First of all, they could get as many as 8. So 3/4 of the league. Temple I think I have Temple in right now. So the American, there's a good chance could get 4. I won't be surprised if that happens. So a couple more. Is Calipari Coach of the Year candidate? Asked Mark. Sure, he's a candidate. I don't think he'll win it. Will Murray State win the OVC? I don't know, Jerry. Belmont's looking really good. Dylan Windler had a phenomenal weekend. Give him a shout out on in our weekly honors. Best team in the ACC is Duke. Best team in the A10, I would say, is probably. I still think it may end up being VCU, but I would lean Davidson even though they just lost. Based on how the team is doing, how do I think Iowa State is safe? Well, overall, I do think they're safe. Wofford. I have them at the bottom of my Power 36 right now in a brutal SoCon. Now, you're just throwing school names at me here. They're just flying up. Marcus, how much do I trust Kansas? Well, one of the issues is their front court is incredibly thin right now. Dietrich Lawson can lead them for a couple of wins. I just don't think they're going to get to the Final Four. Can Wofford be a sleeper team? Yes. We'll see who they match up with in the first round, but without seeing it, I may pick them. All right. Mike Hopkins, Coach of the Year, asked William. He would be in the Pac-12. And let's take one more. What do I think of the Nevada Wolfpack? Well, Jordan Caroline is phenomenal. The Martin twins, Caleb and Cody. I love Jazz Johnson. Eric Musselman's got this group loose. They're going to do great in the NCAA tournament. I see them as an Elite 8 team. Got to see who they match up with before I project them to the Final Four. My Final Four right now, this changes weekly. Basically, I got Tennessee, Duke, Gonzaga, and Michigan. That's my 4 right now. We'll see if it holds. All right, thanks again. Good 10 to 12 minutes here that we just chatted. We'll be back next Monday. Some housekeeping items here. Power 36 on NCAA.com and March Madness. Got a story coming up about the impact of the loss of Joshua Langford from Michigan State and Killian Tilly from Gonzaga, plus a video on that. March Madness 365 podcast. Guests, Mark Few from Gonzaga, Grant Williams from Tennessee. Later this week, I will be at the Maryland-Michigan game on Saturday. Of course, we'll be tracking throughout the course of the week possible interviews as well after games. We are the source for your reactions to college basketball around the country. We are about 4 weeks left before we get into championship week, and then March Madness will begin with Selection Sunday. Thanks everyone for watching. Appreciate it.